Hello YouTube land, my name is Kestalkayden and today I'm going to be showcasing the RF Chieftain. This is a strength stacking chieftain, which is why it utilizes the Dune Scepter, or else I would have actually just multi-modded Scepter of my own. This ends up being more damage, especially seeing as I have close to about 1,000 strength. On standard, when I was testing this out, I had closer to 1,100, but I had a lot more gear on standard. Plus, at that point, I also had a lot more fun stuff with this. I had the concentrated effect prefix, as well as the helmet enchant for specifically righteous fire damage. Those are expensive in League. This is in Legion League, and I just kind of wanted to showcase one of the things I was doing with this. This build is great for Uberlab farm, first off. I have never felt any danger in like the 40-50 Uberlabs that I've done this League, specifically for helmet enchant like farming, as well as it does pretty well in maps. Surprisingly though, does extremely well in delves, and because the shield char changes, it's faster. So it's quite nice. Like, this is without flasks, and I also do have a quicksilver flask. This does a pretty decent job on just going through. It has about 400 to 500,000 Shaper DPS as it stands right now, and it has a lot of defenses. So whether I want to build up endurance charges with this Enduring Cry, I could also technically use this as well, the Scorching Ray, to build up endurance charges because it's a fire ability. With that said, I also crafted Belt, which has, where is that? Rallying Cry, which in itself isn't too bad as well as an alternative if you find a way to effectively and efficiently stack and actually build up your endurance charges, which does increase your damage as well. So it is useful to know. Anyway, I'm just going to show a vaal RF as soon as I click on that. So here we go. That is the size of the vaal RF, which is actually quite nice. I will just go over a couple of my build choices that I've done so far. For those that are wondering, the build forum post is linked down below. It's by Demi. His build guides are usually pretty good when it comes to that. And I'll list off my personal path of building so you guys can compare mine versus his best in slot, 1 million RF, etc., Chieftain. Bossing is pretty good. So I have Elemental Equilibrium, and there's a few things that I could use to proc it. Now, I have, obviously, Orb of Storms, which also can shock. It does a whole bunch of other stuff. I have Shield Charge, which causes, I believe, what is it? Cold damage? Yeah, it adds cold damage, so that applies Elemental Equilibrium as to that. And also, if I take a lot of damage, there's a couple things that happen. First off, Molten Shell can proc, and that is quite defensive. But on top of that, I have a Vortex that ends up proccing and appears. I'm just going to see if I can actually activate it, but I mean, I'll show this to you on the build itself. It's not that big of a deal. So the Vortex procs, again, the initial hit is cold, so that changes Elemental Equilibrium, and which gives me the bonus damage. Keep in mind, I'm also using Increased Area of Effect. I have Concentrated Effect right here, but that also, decreases the size of my little radius that I have going on here, which is unfortunate, but it's great because this is what I switch to for bossing, and if I want to just, take things down quite easily. I have done Red Elder with this. I have done Shaper. It needs work, but this is only level 93, and it's doing pretty good on its own. Once I finish up with this, I'll show you exactly what I have. I mean, I could pretty much just sit here and finish it off, so.
Cast yourself into oblivion.
Alright, just gonna do that. There we go. So I'm gonna go, there's the Vortex that finally spawned. And Molten Shell also procced as well. So I'm gonna go over some of this first. First off, for this, I have Fortify on my shield charge plus faster attacks. I also have Culling Strike, which does do nicely if I don't feel like waiting for the last 20% or 10% or however much it is, 10%. I just use the Culling Strike on that, and it works. For this, we have full maximum casting damage taken. I resummon my Stone Golem that way. Vortex as well, so when I take the big hits, that happens, which is great, as well as Summon Holy Relic, which has concentrated, or the Consecrated Ground. Enduring Cry, Purity of Fire, Vitality. They're not quality, they don't need to be. They can be level 21, it would be great. On top of that, if I were to get a +1 Corruption on this, that would be great as well. This is great for, so where's the Scorching Ray? So I have Burning plus Infused. So when I actually do hit the infusion, the damage kind of spikes a little bit, which is nice. And on top of that, it's supported by Iron Will, which is great. This is your standard. Actually, I haven't even qualityed these, and it's doing fine in terms of damage, realistically. Again, 400 to 500,000 Shaper damage once I get the Elemental Equilibrium off. And if I have a chance to shock with my Orb of Storms, which is also cast on hit, or curse on hit with flammability. I might try to change that to Malevolence if I get the Watcher's Eye to get higher regen. But for now, it's fine. So right now, I'm at, when I'm close to my little buddy, at around 2,000 when I pop flasks. It's much higher when I... Oh, actually, the endurance charges doesn't seem to affect it. Anyways, regardless, when I pop flasks, it's close to 3,000 life regen per second. So overall, it's actually pretty tanky. Now, again, this can survive quite well in Delve as well. I don't do high-level farming Delve with this one. I do a lot of low-level farming for fossil farming, actually. So around, what, 100 to 150 depth. And it does a really good job on doing that. It can stay in the darkness beyond like 50, 60 ticks. And I don't feel any danger at all. And with that said, although yes, it does use shield charge, so it's a little awkward around corners. That's what Flame Dash is for. It does really well on those situations where you get surrounded and you're kind of like up against one of the walls. But if you Flame Dash, it tends to work pretty well. Overall, this is a pretty fun build. Let's just sit in a Shaper sphere. There we go. Not even phasing me whatsoever. So, yeah. This build does pretty well. It's not the fastest farming build. Monoliths can be a little annoying, but generally speaking, I have a dedicated monolith farmer for that. It's a tornado shot, or MF tornado shot that I use on glaciers. So it's not too bad. Plus, I have a cyclone character that does realistically the higher level stuff. This is RF when using concentrated effect rather than increased area of effect. Keep in mind, once I grab the helmet enchantment, or sorry, not the helmet enchant. Once I actually, well, I guess once I grab a helmet with the helmet enchant and actually do burning damage elemental plus concentrated effect, which I did on standard self-crafted once I got the actual helmet enchant itself, I then take that out and just use increased area of effect with it, and it will be in between basically this and this. So it's a pretty decent AoE. Now going to the skill tree, I could technically, at the moment, remove this one, this area of effect, and it doesn't actually change the AoE. However, when I switch over to increase area of effect and then do that, it does. So when in concentrated effect, if I were to stay with this the whole time, I can remove this and it doesn't change. When I use increase area of effect, interestingly enough, if I have this point, that's why I have it right now, just because I do a lot of like mid-tier farming with this, as well as a lot of delve diving. So I prefer to have increased area of effect while going through and just like tralala laughing at all the things that die around me, and I basically just can't die in low level delves. This is the skill tree. There's a couple things that I'm going to be doing. Basically, level 93. For the next 2 levels, I'm going to be doing endurance charges. Also, the next 2 levels after that, endurance charges. And also, the next 2 levels after that, endurance charges. So basically, from here on out, if I were to take this to like level, what is it, 99 or 97, basically, from here on out, it's all just endurance level charges. If I wanted to feel a little bit more tankier, I can remove that and stick this node in, life regen. 1% life regen for 9,000, or 0.8 life regen for 9,000 is quite a bit. Alternatively, now that I have this over here, one of the things that I could do, and I would have to test this out obviously, this is just attack speed, which is useless. I could remove this and feel fine. So the big points here are life plus increased burning damage. If I were to, for the next 5 levels, go to here, I'd be able to double stack Might of the Meek and get a lot more bonuses off of this life. Plus, it would also help with my resistances, so I'd be able to focus specifically on strength, so I wouldn't have to worry about things that much. Alternatively, I'd only need about 3-4 levels because I'd probably be able to get rid of something else in here and still make up for it in terms of the extra life nodes that I'd get, or the extra life bonuses that I'd get from Might and the Meek from these 2 nodes. So I'd probably actually be able to remove a couple of my life nodes, if anything, and still make up for it, plus then some, plus all the extra benefits of this. So overall, this is a pretty well thought out tree. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going the Might and the Meek, but if you're going to be doing low-level farming or mid-level farming or Uberlab farming or whatever, it's actually not too bad. Now, for Uberlab, I sometimes do switch over to Leap Slam. I know it's a little bit slower, but I prefer Leap Slam. However, generally speaking, now that I actually have Flame Dash, it doesn't necessarily matter. And I like the fact that I can actually cast Flame Dash immediately after Shield Charge, so like if I go there, I can immediately cast it. There's no like internal cooldown between the two, which is good. I mean, it's not like it's a secret or anything. It was more important back when Shield Charge was a lot slower, but Shield Charge without flasks is fine now, and with flasks, this is a really fast Uber, or like not Uberlap farmer. Yeah, this is a really fast Uberlap farmer, but this is a really fast RF. So overall, it's actually not too bad. Now, I know some of my jewels, for example, do have attack speed on them, and I should probably just switch them over to closer to a standard RF build. So instead of attack speed while holding shield or attack speed, I'd probably do increased damage on top and go from there. But these were budget level jewels, so that's kind of what I aimed for. I basically tried to grab one burning, one life, and one attack speed on every single one of my jewels, and they were cheap. They were like 10 chaos each. And this feels like a fun, fast farmer. And again, shaper damage about 500 DPS or 500k DPS. So overall, not too bad. Anyway, that's about it for this build. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and leave a like on the video. What are you doing? Do it. Hit the bell icon, all that fun stuff. So until next time, guys, have fun.